How's it going, everybody? Shawn Malzahn with the Green Rose Organization. Today we're going to be talking about character, what it is, and why it's important. This is the first lesson in the character enrichment course, which consists of 11 lessons, part of the Green Rose Organization's ongoing self-improvement workshop. Now, character enrichment specifically has to do with learning the basics of what it means to be a decent human being. And this course will focus on morality and ethical conduct to develop the inner man. And we'll talk about the differences between the inner man and the outer man when we start comparing character versus personality in later lessons. So again, this is 11 lessons on character development. This is the first lesson, what is character and why it's important. Now we're going to kind of start off by exploring how character was defined in both modern and ancient science. We're going to compare the two. So the concept of character, it's been explored across disciplines, many disciplines, as a matter of fact, in eras since time immemorable. It's an ongoing perennial practice of becoming a better person, with fascinating nuances in both ancient and modern science. So in ancient times, we have character, basically, it was often intertwined with philosophical and moral studies, whereas modern interpretations of character kind of blend psychology, neuroscience, and sociology. And if you get into researching psychology, neuroscience, and sociology, as well as philosophy, it's going to give you a tremendous outlook or perspective or insight as to what character is and its profound ability to affect us on an individual and collective level. So in ancient times, in ancient science, we have a common figure called Aristotle and his virtue ethics. Now this Greek philosopher, he talked about it was the sum total of one's virtues and habits. And virtue is basically a moral attribute or has to do with right and wrong behavior. He emphasized that developing good character, it required practicing these virtues like courage, wisdom, and temperance, aiming to essentially achieve the end result, eudaimonia, which was human flourishing or fulfillment. And then we have Hippocrates and his four humor theory. In ancient Greek medicine, particularly Hippocrates' theory on the four humors, which were essentially blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. And these four fluids, they made up the actual human being. He was able to link character to these fluids and the influence that character had on him and vice versa. It's really profound. So for example, somebody who was dominated by blood, the humor of blood, they might be more optimistic, or what he called sanguine, while somebody who was or had a lot of excess black bile, that might make them more melancholic or essentially depressed or lethargic, things like that. And then there's also Eastern perspectives on character development. So in ancient Chinese thought, particularly that of Confucianism, this was a man who was widely known and renowned for his outlook on morality and character development. But he emphasized moral character, which he called D, as central to societal harmony. So he was all about, how to become a better person, not just individually, but how you can also better society and the family life and, civilization at large. And then also in Indian traditions, we have the concept of dharma. And this underscores ethical behavior and duties that are intrinsic to one's character and character development, essentially the precursor to spiritual development as well. So dharma is a very profound word. It has a lot of meanings and implications, and I would encourage you to investigate the word dharma and see what it means, and what it implies to how we can better ourselves. Now, modern science, we have psychology, and a real popular concept in psychology is what they call the Big Five. Contemporary psychology defines character through traits such as, again, the Big Five personality. And these are dimensions of an individual, such as openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And these all can be broken down into, very detailed traits and descriptions and how it affects our mood and things of that nature. And these traits, they're also used to describe and predict behavior too. So it also affects behavior. That's a big component of the Big Five. And then we have neuroscience and brain function. So neuroscience, they've delved into how brain structures and the functions of those brain structures actually influence character traits. So for instance, the prefrontal cortex plays a critical role in influencing decision making, and that shapes character because we have to have a sense of decision making, rationale, and also affects self control and willpower as well. And it's very important, to character development. We're going to need those tools to become a better person and to practice those virtues, which essentially will influence our mood, make us feel better, and also inspire us to act and behave in more ways that are conducive to harmony and growth, which is very important for ourselves and for those around us and for our environment, which is basically the epitome of character development. Now, there's also genetics and the environment to consider when character is considered in character development. So modern science talks about, character is shaped by a combination of genetic predispositions and environmental influences. So epigenetics is a very profound field of study that we might investigate. So for example, they talk about or show how experiences can influence gene expression, impacting personality and behavior. And so the experiences that we have in life, they can actually affect us down to a molecular, cellular, genetic level. And we're talking about, DNA here. And as we know, DNA is very powerful in determining and shaping virtually everything about us from early on. So while ancient science kind of uses character or looks at character through a philosophical or what Hippocrates called a humoral lens, modern science kind of leads on empirical studies and biological mechanisms. And the word empirical here has to do with coming to conclusions via the scientific method predominantly. So we're talking about coming to conclusions based on intense observation and experimentation through the use of logic and sound reason. So despite the shift in approaches, whether it's looking at character through the modern or ancient lens, they're both converging on the same thing. It's about human behavior, developing human behavior, personal growth and development. With that being said, why is character and character development important? That's what we need to kind of look at. So this is not something that we were intentionally taught growing up. It's not something you might be interested in today because a lot of households don't have sit-down time where they talk about these things or place importance on these things, or the implications of what it means to be a good person and how it's going to actually affect us later on in life, whether it's our mood or our behaviors and interactions with others. So, why is it important? We've got to kind of be persuaded why we should even investigate these matters and live our lives according to their philosophies and methodologies. So character and character development are crucial in many different reasons, whether we're talking about storytelling or real-life situations in life or scenarios. So, for example, in stories, character development brings both depth and relatability to character. So this is crucial when we're talking about, having character in real life, because the person who has character, they come with a richness and depth in their personality. And somebody can see that and relate to that and want to be around that person and be influenced by them. Whereas well-developed characters, they also, they engage audience and they make narratives more compelling in storytelling. They invoke emotions. And if we were to kind of compare that to the modern sense or a real-life context, somebody with good character will engage the people around them. They have a certain magnetism or magnetic aura that draws people in naturally. And they make their stories compelling, interesting. So they really capture the attention and imagination of those that they influence. And they invoke very powerful emotions within those people. And that's crucial because, emotions inspire behavior. And obviously somebody with good character, they can capture the attention of somebody. They can relate to that person. They can evoke positive emotions in that person and therefore bring about positive behaviors in that person. So people, they just, they connect with characters who grow and struggle in life and they overcome obstacles in life. The epitome of character refinement, because that mirrors real life experiences that people can relate to. So we want to see somebody, or a man or woman, with strong character who has overcome obstacles and struggles in life, because they usually have insight, they're self reflective, and they have a certain quality of wisdom that we can all benefit from. And without strong character development, stories can be hollow and uninteresting. So, as a person with no character can also seem hollow and uninspiring, someone we just don't want to be around. So character really just it really just enriches life, and we're talking about somebody with a good character. They can make life more interesting. Their stories, their experiences, their wisdom, it just resonates more deeply with those who are influenced by them. Now, in life, in a real life context, character represents essentially the essence of who somebody is. At their core, it's their values that they find important. It's the choices that they make in life. Predominantly, it's really their beliefs and their belief systems that they have. Their overall perspective on reality. So, developing one's character is absolutely fundamental to personal growth and development, forming meaningful relationships, and contributing to positive societal growth. It involves refining qualities like integrity, empathy, resilience, and kindness. Um, you know, Somebody who grows in life and who has a strong character, it makes them trustworthy, and that's important. And it makes people more adaptable, to their surroundings, and more capable of integrating in society as well. It allows them to better navigate challenges and overcome obstacles. So it really makes them more resilient to changes over time. And that's important because let's face it, there's nothing in the physical universe that doesn't change and transform over time. So that things that you have around you, they're going to be constantly changing in a constant flux all the time. And this makes people uncomfortable. We hate change. We're creatures of habit. But a man or woman of character is flexible. They're resilient and are able to overcome, evolve, and adapt to those changes over life. So in both cases, whether we're talking about the ancient perspective on character or the more modern approach or the interpretation of character and character development, according to science and psychology, character development is strictly and fundamentally about human evolution. It's about striving to be better, more aware of oneself and one's environment and all the beings and things there within, and to basically be more impactful in a helpful, beneficial way, leading to more growth and harmony. So that's about it. That's all I got really on what character is and why it's important. Stay tuned for the next lesson. We're going to talk about character versus personality, kind of distinguish the difference between the two. And that's it. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And God bless. And bye for now.